The piston works with the cylinder to harness the power created by combustion. The most common reason to replace the piston is low compression. This can be caused by dirt and dust wearing the piston and rings. It can also be caused by a lean running engine or fuel that doesn't have enough oil in it. When there is damage to the piston, there will usually also be damage to the cylinder. The cylinder should be carefully inspected whenever there is piston damage and also replaced if needed. Replacing a damaged piston is a moderately difficult repair, but I'm going to show you how so you can do it yourself.
Hi, I'm Mark Socha.
Do-it-yourself repairs like these are easier than you might think. From lawn machines to cordless drills, kitchen mixers,
Outdoor grills.
our how-to videos walk you through each repair from start to finish. So doing it yourself means never having to do it alone.
Let's get started.
I'll begin by removing the air filter cover and the air filter. Now remove the screws that secure the air filter base and the carburetor. Next, I'll remove the starter. And now remove the engine cover. Now remove the muffler. Now remove the spark plug. The heat shield. And the insulator. Along with the gasket. Now I can remove the cylinder. I'll rotate the cylinder 90 degrees. And now I can pull it away from the piston. Now I'll remove the gasket. Now I can remove the retaining ring. With the retaining ring removed, I'll use a small pick to push the piston pin away from the piston. And now I can remove it. As I do, I'll be careful that I don't drop the bearing and washers down into the crankcase. I can remove the washers and the bearing. And now I can remove the inner retaining ring. Now remove the piston rings from the piston. Now I can begin installing the new piston. I'll start by installing the piston rings. The piston rings have quarter circle cutouts at the end gaps. I want to orient the piston ring so the cutouts are facing up. I'll work the piston ring onto the piston, aligning the end gap with the pin inside the groove. Now I can install the snap ring. The snap ring should be replaced whenever you remove them. They'll lose their tension during removal and then can come loose from the piston, causing damage to the piston and cylinder. I'll install the first snap ring on the back side of the piston, or the side of the piston that will be closest to the housing when I install it. The piston has an arrow stamped into it. The arrow should point towards the exhaust side of the cylinder. I'll carefully install the first snap ring, being sure I don't over compress it. To install the bearing, I'll first apply a little bit of 2-cycle oil to lubricate it. Then I'll slide the bearing into the connecting rod. I'll install the washers on either side. And again, I'll apply oil to each part. Now install the piston. The arrow on the piston should be pointing towards the exhaust side of the engine. I'll apply some oil to the piston pin and insert it through the piston and into the connecting rod. And I'll install the second snap ring to secure the piston pin. I'll make sure that the snap ring engaged in the groove all the way around. I'll place the gasket on top of the crankcase, making sure I align it with the screw holes and the opening for the piston. To install the cylinder, first I'll apply some 2-cycle oil to the inside. This will lubricate the cylinder to the piston. To install the cylinder, I'll want to rotate it so either the intake port or the exhaust port is facing against the back of the tool. That just makes it fit a little easier so I can slide it onto the piston. I'll need to compress the piston rings and carefully slide the cylinder over the piston. Once the cylinder is past the piston rings, I'll rotate it again so the exhaust port and the intake port are on the correct sides. Then I'll seat the cylinder against the crankcase, and now I can secure it with the screws. I'll insert the screws back into the cylinder. And I'll use a long screwdriver to secure them. Initially, I just leave the screws loose. Then I like to manually rotate the engine over, and this will help to center the cylinder. And now I'll tighten the screws. Now reinstall the insulator and gasket. Now reinstall the muffler. Next, I'll reinstall the heat shield. And then the spark plug. And now reinstall the motor cover. Next, I'll reinstall the starter. Now I'll reinstall the air filter base and the carburetor. I'll finish up by reinstalling the air filter and the air filter cover. And that's all it takes to replace the piston in your small engine. Be sure to check back often for new videos and expert advice. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up
And leave a comment.